The next one on the list are floor plans, and we talked briefly about existing and demolition and new work, so we'll look at that a little bit closer. Talk about some different things like how dimension formats are done, doors, windows, symbols, and their representation on the floor plans, uh, room names and areas, and any drawing notes. Whenever we go back to this set of drawings, I'm going to start out with our very first floor plan, and it is an existing demo. So it is going to show existing walls to remain in light colored here. And then we're also going to have existing wall to be removed or modified. So depending on what the note ends up telling us, all these dashed lines are walls and components within the wall that need to either be demolished, which is removed, or in some other way modified. So just an example of a note, a demolition note. A lot of times what you'd see would be D1, and then over here you might have all your demolition notes. Since there's only a few within this drawing, I just put those right at the location where they're going to be used. Remove existing window, provide structural header and opening as required by new work plan. So the thing to really notice here is, first of all, there is a window in this location. So we're going to remove that. Then you have to provide a structural header and opening as required. So what's going to happen here is probably the window is a little bit smaller than the opening, but the new opening there is going to require a structural header, something that carries the weight over top of the window or door that's going in there, or the opening that's going in there, and distribute it into the walls and then into the foundation. So the best way to understand what's going on here is to look at the new work plan. So a lot of times whenever I'm looking at the existing or demo plan, I'm going to jump to the new work plan very quickly, just so I can get a better understanding of what's going on with that. And just so I have a reference point, this door right here, I'm going to look for that and then look to the left of that to see where that is going to be. Alright, so here's that door, and here what we have is a new door. So it looks like it's going to be a French style door, probably about 6 feet. If I wanted to, I could go very quickly to our door schedule and look at that. Exterior French full glass 72 by 80 is my number one. So I'm basically taking out part of that wall and I'm adding in a set of French doors, and I'm going to add a header in place. So really, whenever you're doing this, I'm not just going to do the demolition without looking at the new work plans. I'm going to basically use those two drawings together to look at these different things and see what's going on as a project as a whole. A lot of times I'm just going to, I might remove windows or doors and fill that in. A lot of times the door might just be replaced or something, so it's really important to pay close attention to the notes and see what they say as well. So the next thing on the new work plan, there's a lot of different information on here. The first one, we had talked briefly about doors and windows, and whenever you look at these doors and windows, you can see that the doors have numbers. This is 10. The windows have numbers, and they have these different symbols that correspond to each. So what that's really going to let me do is I'm going to find number 10, and I'm going to go find my number 10 in my door schedule. So number 10 is an exterior full glass 32 by 80. And then there's going to be notes down here that apply to the door schedule in general, the different doors. So example, all door head height 80 inches, exterior doors with 50% or less glass have to have 0.72 or less U value. So there's some different things that you have to pay specific attention to within these schedules. But it's a real quick, easy way to look at this set of drawings, find out the information that you need. So if I'm a contractor, I'm going to purchase this door, and I'm going to, whenever I purchase that door, I'm going to look at my rough opening size that's listed on the manufacturer's recommendations. I'm going to make my rough opening size for that door that I purchase, and then whenever I install this door, everything's going to work out the way that it's supposed to be. So I use those schedules in a lot of different ways, and the first part of it is having the numbers and the designation on the floor plan. The other thing that's important to note is you can see the swings of the doors. So a lot of people will show what the swing of the door is on the schedule. I like to just have that negated or not include that on the schedule and let the contractors look at the floor plan itself to see how they're going to swing. So all these exterior doors are going to swing in, but it depends on if the hinge is going to be on the left side or the right side of the door. So they can figure that out. They can give this to their building product salesperson and let them figure that out and coordinate it. I don't need to put that into the schedule. And it's the same sort of thing with windows. All right, so other things to note on the drawings are dimensions. So the dimensions a lot of times can get confusing very quickly. So first thing that I want to look at are the exterior dimensions. I want to make a couple notes of the exterior dimensions. Typically, I have one that shows any offsets within the building. Here's an offset within the building. And I have one that shows all the dimensions, or the openings for the dimensions for the openings. So the dimensionings, this is a factory mold window. I can see that note in the schedule, and I'm going to dimension to the center of that complete unit. So this isn't really two separate windows, it's one complete unit that I'm going to dimension to the center. So whenever I'm a contractor, I can basically measure from the outside corner, which does not include the siding. So that brings up a good point as far as how the dimensions, what they're showing. Typically, I'm not going to include any drywall on the interior dimensions. So whenever I look at this dimension right here, this 9'7", that's going to go from the face of the stud to the face of the stud. And the reason for doing that is whenever I'm installing these walls, I'm not going to have any drywall in place, and I don't want the contractors to sit there and have to do that math every time where they're subtracting out a 1/2 inch for each drywall, or even more confusing if you're using like a 5/8 inch thick drywall. A lot of designs will instead have the dimensions that basically go directly to the center of the wall. And that's a nice, neat, easy way to do that too, but it does require the contractor to do a little bit of math as they're laying out the walls. So on to the next thing, room numbers and areas. So in room names. So all these rooms have the actual room name and they show the area. And that's basically just something so the building inspector can very quickly and easily see what the total area is of each room. There are certain area requirements, certain sizes that you have to, minimums for bedrooms and different things that you have to stay within, and they can very quickly and easily look at this and see that you're meeting those requirements. But the next thing is we have these little symbols for smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. So within here, this is a smoke detector, and it very quickly and easily shows where the locations of the smoke detectors have to be and where the location of the combination unit smoke and carbon monoxide detectors need to be. Alright, so next we have plumbing fixtures. So basically just show the plumbing fixtures where they are, and if this was a bid set of drawings, I might have more information about these plumbing fixtures. Since this is just a set of permit drawings, the contractor and the owner are going to work together, and they're going to choose the different plumbing fixtures that they want to use for the project. I'm basically going through using standard dimensioning, like a 4-foot shower or a 61-inch vanity top for a double vanity, and a minimum of 3 feet for my toilet compartment space. And I could actually take that down to 30 inches total, but that's pretty tight. I like to stay within 32 to 36 inches for this toilet compartment. I also include the size and countertop for a laundry sink, kitchen countertop, and make sure all those things work out. That you have some different options whenever you're choosing the different manufacturers, the different types of plumbing fixtures. One additional thing that I want to make note of in this drawing is, again, the existing walls show up lightly, and the new walls in this case show up as darker, thicker lines. So it's a very quick, easy way that the contractor can look at this and say, okay, this is new construction here, this is existing construction, and it shows that very quickly and easily. Real quickly, just to look at this kitchen, a lot of times what I'll typically do is I'll show the appliances and I'll show countertops. So like this darker green line represents the island and the countertops within the island, and the spacing in between the countertop here where the kitchen sink and stove are and where that island is. We use a standard size 33-inch kitchen sink, standard 30-inch stove, and a lot of times what will happen is the owners will go through and they'll have someone else, like the kitchen manufacturer, going through and doing a design for a complete kitchen. So I show the basics of it: countertops, appliances. That's pretty much it for floor plans. You may see floor plans that have more details on it. You could definitely see floor plans that have a lot less details on it. This is kind of right in the middle. It shows what it needs to be approved by code. And so the next thing that we're going to look at in video 4 are exterior elevations.